Welcome back. Exploitation in the art industry has once again been exposed. Cape Town creative Malibongwe Kilo was allegedly not paid by a German publication for work. He was then asked to do promotional work for a book he contributed to. He recorded a conversation between him and Iris Hampelman from the operations head. She's the operations head at Gestalten. That's the company in Germany that Malibongwe has fallen out with. We were hoping to bring you that audio, but in the interest of time, we're going to go straight to Malibongwe, who joins us from our Cape Town studios, and then we're also going to speak to a lawyer who's with me, Gatlego, here in studio, but that's all coming up in a moment. Malibongwe, let's come straight to you. So take us back to the genesis of your story with this German media house, if we can call it that, and where then you fell out.
Okay, yes, so this was back in 2016 when they got in touch with me and they commissioned me to write a piece on African fashion. I write generally around art, design and fashion, focused mainly on African and South African specifically and the broader African fashion and design scene. So they invited me to write the article and I submitted it, and we had come to an agreement, and then we'd signed a contract, and then when I sent in my invoice on the 30th of May 2016, which according to the contract they were supposed to pay as soon as they've received the piece from me. So they didn't pay, and then over a month later, on the 7th of July, I followed up to say what's happening. I didn't really get a response from them, and then I followed up again on the 20th of July, and then I also didn't get a response from them at that time. And then only 3 months later, from the moment when I sent the invoice, this was now on the 31st of August. On the 31st of August, I got an email from them saying that they had applied for insolvency, for a company restructuring insolvency thing, and then because of that, they would no longer be able to pay any invoices prior to the 22nd of August, which is the date that they applied for and were approved for insolvency. And then they said that I would be contacted again by November 2016 or early 2017 to be told what the next steps would be once the insolvency proceedings got on, what the next steps would be for me to get my money. So I didn't receive any communication from them. According to them now, they say they sent me an actual physical letter through the post. They may have not, but for me, my communication with them was on email and over the phone. So with no one having said anything to me about expecting a physical letter or having to respond to a physical letter in order to eventually get my money.
All right.
Yes.
I want to touch on this issue of the insolvency. Had you known prior to your agreement with Gestalten that they were facing insolvency, and I'm curious about the difference between the work you'd done prior to that communication and this then subsequent request, as I understand it, for you to do publicity or promo work around the project.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. So I was not aware at all of anything. Everything was great, honky-dory. I was not aware of anything around insolvency. In fact, that only came up in August, and the work was submitted or in May. And as I mentioned before, according to the contract, the invoice was supposed to be paid immediately. So what happened was there was a period of 2 years where we did, as creatives, especially as freelancers, we do deal with situations like this quite often. So during that, there was a 2-year period since my communication with them on August 31st, 2016, where also I was just kind of like, okay, I'll wait to hear from them. And when I didn't hear from them, I did ask a friend of mine who got me in touch with them to then contact them and ask them what's happening. I never heard anything back from them. But like a lot of creatives, at some point I was like, oh, bad luck. And then again, I got in touch with them on the 2nd of October, and this is when we, now just a couple of weeks ago, I got in touch with them. I actually called the company because I saw that the company is back in operation, and then the book is selling. And when I got in touch with them, that's when I got no response until I mentioned it on my Instagram account. And then when I mentioned it on my Instagram account, they sent me an email, and then they followed up with that call where they said, well, they can't pay me the original original invoice because of the legal issues around the insolvency. However, what they would be prepared to do is to pay me the same amount for promotional work.
All right.
So by promotional work, what they meant was I would have to go back and then I would have to change my story on social media and tell everyone how great the book is and that I was completely wrong.
Okay, Malibongwe, let's get a legal perspective then. Entertainment lawyer Gauteng Malachi with us in studio tonight. Gauteng, you've heard Malibongwe's story, the back and forth between him and this German house. How exposed are artists and freelancers in South Africa legally? And having heard Malibongwe's story, would he have a legal foot to stand on if he were to pursue some sort of action?
Yeah, people in the freelancing line of work, especially in the creative space, are very vulnerable and susceptible to manipulation given the inconsistent nature of the work. And having listened to Malibongwe's case, I then pick up certain important things which he has done, which other creatives don't often do, which is, create the paper trail, sign an actual contract, because those are all the little things that come together to give rise to a legal claim for him, which he can successfully pursue in a court of law. Had they not reached a resolution, as I am understanding they have, he would then, have taken all the right legal steps to protect himself, to establish a case that...
I want to speak very quickly to this recording, this call that he made to Iris, the lady from this German company. And in their exchange comes up the issue of Malibongwe's posts on social media, where he put them on blast, essentially, complaining about the non-payment and the process followed. What does that do for Malibongwe's case legally? Was that a blunder or is it harmless?
It's not a blunder, and maybe to just quickly sift through it. So putting clients on blast as a resort that many freelancers or people go to, but it is not a substitute to good diligent practice. So good diligent practice is, let me sign a contract, let me create a paper trail, let me submit things via email so as to have some form of a paper trail that can be followed if I want to institute a legal claim. I always advise my clients to say, ideally don't put people on blast, but if you do insist on it, let it not be a way of laying out your case. Let it be a way of saying, I have a grievance with you, I am making it known to the public, and should you fail to respond to me, I will then take up the correct legal route, because there is, unfortunately, at the end of the day, no substitute for due legal process.
In 20 seconds, how does the fact that this is a German-based company complicate the legalese around this case?
It complicates it in the sense, obviously, not being aware what jurisdiction, for example, they would have signed on the agreement to say which court gets jurisdiction in, or which legal system gets jurisdiction in the case of a legal fallout. But at the end of the day, it wouldn't complicate it to a point where he would not be able to take up his legal case because he has done things correctly. And that's why it's very important to encourage freelancers and people in that creative space to say, always get somebody to look over your contract, sign a physical contract, and very, very important to create that paper trail, because he has something to fall back on and the company cannot refute his claim.
Again, 30 seconds to you, Malibongwe. What's the next step? And, oh, by the way, give us an idea of just how much you're owed by this company.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you clearly.
Very quickly, what is the next step in your battle with this German company? I don't think Malibongwe can hear us. So
Sorry, I can't hear.
All right, let's leave it there with Malibongwe. I think we got the essence of his issue with Gestalt, and that's the German art company there that he says owes him money, unpaid work for contributions he made to a book around the arts and fashion. We're going to be following that story, no doubt, closely for you here on the program. Thank you very much to our other guest tonight, Gauteng Malachi, entertainment lawyer, giving us the perspective around the rights of artists. But that is our show for tonight. Coming up next is Checkpoint. And this week, the program takes an in-depth look at backstreet abortions. See you later.